Hi, I'm Josh. This is Josh is Making Music, and I wanted to talk about making a kind of basic sounding pad on the Korg Prologue 8. So Korg have an 8 voice and a 16 voice version of the Prologue. In my case, I went for the 8 voice version. My reasons were kind of twofold. One of them was that, before this, I'd been using Dave Smith Instruments Mofo X4, which if I was more than happy with only 4 voices, I figure, I probably don't need 16. And then the other thing for me was the difference in price. I was able to get a really good deal on this one, and it would have been, honestly, it was about half as much the cost of the 16 voice version. And I didn't really think that I needed those extra 8 voices of polyphony that much. But anyway, now, if you're not familiar with the Korg Prologue, I guess it's actually kind of a pretty basic synthesizer. Compared to a lot of other synthesizers that you might find on the market, there's really not a lot of modulation options. I mean, you have an LFO here, and you can set the target, pitch, shape, cutoff, whatever you'd like, but it's not really the most wild LFO envelope crazy synthesizer ever, but you can get some really nice solid synth sounds out of it. The video that really sold me on the Korg Prologue 8 is called is the Korg Prologue, the Ultimate Synthwave Machine by Learson Peak. Now, in that video, Learson Peak makes the case that the Korg Prologue is really, really well suited to synthwave and to outrun style music, and that was what I was really into. So the first step here is that we want to get to an initialized patch. Now, to jump through the patches, because if you notice as I scroll through, there's a lot, and I'm not getting to an initialized one anytime soon. I can tap this red button here, and it'll just jump through by 50s to 251. At this point, we're at the patches that I've made, not the default patches, which I don't know if they're all that crazy. I mean, I have this one. I like how it sounds. This one. I like how that sounds. But we're going to go until we get to init program, or initialized. So this is going to be just your basic sound. And from here, we're going to make a nice mellow pad sound. So I would say that the 2 ingredients to a pad are that you usually want it to have a kind of like big full tone, depending on what you're going for, of course. But in this case, that's what we're going for. And you want it to have a little bit of motion in it. So it's not just a single static chord. Sorry, I'm picking off bits of schmutz and cat hair. My cat gets everywhere. What we're going to start with is I am going to go over to this section here, which is beautifully highlighted by my video light. This controls the different oscillators. It's 8 voice, 2 oscillators per voice, and they're actually already on saw. I'm going to flip them a little bit because I just like flipping these switches. It's fun. Next, in this mixer section, I'm going to turn both of these knobs. Now, when you go to an initialized patch on the Prologue, it doesn't reflect the position of the knobs. You can press, I think it's shift and right, and it will change everything to reflect the knob positions. But if you don't, it just goes to its default setting. So I've brought in oscillator 1, oscillator 2, and now when we play it, you can hear that it is a slightly fatter saw. Great, we're getting where we want to go. Now, the next step I'm going to want to do is I'm going to start messing with the octaves. So you can see that I have these little switches here, and as I press them, the little light moves to show what octave that oscillator is in. And I'm going to separate them by an octave. And you can hear now it's got a bit of a fatter tone. I feel like as musicians, we use these words like fatter and thicker and warmer, and we like using them because they don't really have an objective definition, so no one can say that we're wrong. Now, to mellow this out a little bit, we're going to use the low-pass filter right here. So we've got our sections all together. We've got the oscillators, mixer, filters, amplitude envelopes, which is a really fancy way of saying what the volume does, and then effects. We're in filters right now. I'm going to bring the cutoff of the filter down, and as I do, I'm going to play it, and you'll be able to hear how the sound changes. So you can hear that I took out a lot of that sharp kind of brashness. So we've got our tone mellowed out, but we might not really want it to be totally silent or even super duper quiet, and there's a couple ways we can get around that. One way is using this little drive switch, and I'll flip the drive switch, and you can hear that it's driving the sound. Very versus. That's one way. Another way is using resonance. It'll emphasize some of the tones that are being swept away by the filter. So with the resonance all the way down and the drive all the way down and the cutoff, well, where it was already, it sounds like this. But if I bring the resonance up, you can hear how there's now a kind of harsh high tone that's still sticking around. In this case, I think we'll bring the resonance up a little bit and turn the drive up a little bit. And we get that. Now, of course, it's not like patch making is you have to commit as you go from section to section. I get things wrong all the time, and I find as I'm moving forward that things I thought worked didn't work. That's really just part of the sound sculpting and really the musical process. And on that note, why don't we go over to the amplitude envelope? So when I'm thinking of a pad sound, the two things that I'm really wanting to get are a sound that fades in slowly and really kind of lingers as it fades away. To accomplish that, I'm going to turn the attack up. So with the attack all the way down, it sounds like this. Just comes in right away, but with the attack turned up, it sounds like this. Fades in a little bit more. Nice. But you can hear that when I release it, it just dies away right away. So I'm going to turn the release knob up somewhat. And now you can hear, even after I let go, the sound is still lingering. Now, I mentioned earlier that something that's nice to have for pads, depending on whether or not you want this for your music, of course, is to have a little bit of motion in the pad. And the way that we accomplish that is going to involve the filter that we used a little bit ago. I mentioned that there's an LFO, or a low frequency oscillator. It's a wave that, undulates kind of slowly, so it wouldn't make a lot of sense to use it for audio, but to use it to modulate other parameters, it is awesome. And I can choose the wave shape, saw, triangle, square. I can set the mode to fast, slow, or BPM. These two knobs here are rate and int. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember what it stands for, but I like Dungeons and Dragons, so it's probably intelligence. Now, when I turn the rate knob up, that's going to affect the speed of the LFO, as you might guess, and int is going to affect how it is applied. So I'm going to set the target here. Well, it was already on it, but I'll flip it around anyway. I like flipping these knobs. Wait, no, switches. I know words. I'm going to set it to cutoff. That's going to modulate the filter cutoff. And now at this point, it's really just a matter of adjusting it to taste. So with the LFO int all the way down, it sounds like this. But as I turn it up, that's a pretty big change for turning just one knob. Now I can turn it down a little bit so I get a more, I guess you'd say, subtle effect. And I might turn the rate down. And I really like getting that kind of moving sound. I think that a lot of the time when you have music where you just have a static pad, it can sometimes feel a little bit flat. Before we do anything else, I should probably save this patch. Otherwise, if I turn the program/value knob, it's going to be erased. So I'm going to hit write. It's going to say where to write. 259 to 259 sounds right to me. Write. Writing complete. Awesome. Now, I'm going to go back through because I wanted to talk a bit about ways that you can use patches that you've designed. I often find that it's fun to sit down and just do sound designing without a specific project in mind. It's good to practice, coming to grips with all the controls on your synthesizer. It's also just a good way to figure out things that you think sound good to you. And when I'm sitting down and making music, if I happen to have a patch that I think would work well, what I'll usually do is I'll try to use that patch as a jumping off point and then exploring what else I can do. To give you an idea of what I mean, I have this patch called Chill Boy, spelled B-O-I, and also there's no space between chill and boy, because I'm really cool. And it sounds like this. And I really like how that sounds. I'm biased because I made it. But if I were going to use that for, say, something a little more upbeat and poppy, I probably would want to change it. Even if I liked the vibe, I might, for instance, bring the attack down. I might bring the release down. So I have that. Maybe if I wanted to play something really fast, doing this kind of sound design, even without a specific like song in mind, is both a fun practice for me to share with you, and is also a good practice for me to grow as a musician, which is a big part of what this channel is about for me. I want to thank you so much for watching. I've been really, really flattered and I guess I would almost say humbled by the support that the channel has been getting recently. We just got past 850 subscribers, which it feels kind of unreal to me. You know, maybe if you're a really big YouTuber watching this, it might seem like I'm getting really excited over nothing, but to me, I'm getting really excited over an immensely huge something. So yeah, if you're watching this and you are not subscribed and you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. I make music, I talk about making music, I do patch walkthroughs, I, as you've noticed in this video, do some kind of amateur philosophizing. I'm not good at words. I don't do words. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment, let me know, hit like, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.